Welcome back to the poker vlog. This is episode number 249. For this one, we go out to Cambodia for the WPT Prime series. I take you through 2 weeks of playing out there. There's still one more session that I want to make a video of from the Lodge High Stakes when we did the stream launch. But that last session, it was a 12-hour session, so I can't do a normal vlog of that session just because it would take about 60 hours to do one video. And a lot of you guys have already seen the clips, but anyway, I'm doing something special for that on the Brado and Clips channel, so check that out. In the meantime, we've got this episode really excited to share with you guys, but before we get started, a few announcements to make. The first one is that we've got a meetup game at the Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida as part of the WPT main tour stop. That one is going to be April 19th, and then right after that, I'm going to be going out to the Lodge. I'll be there from April 20th through the 27th. We're doing a meetup game to kick off the Lodge Championship Series. The meetup game for that will be April 25th, and then I'm going back out to the WPT in Florida to play the main event there. I'll be there from April 28th through May 3rd, and then I'm going to be playing the main event at the Lodge Championship Series May 8th through the 16th is when I'll be there. The main event starts May 10th, and that's a $3K, $2 million guarantee, so that's gonna be awesome. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. It's the first of 3 flights we'll be taking today to get from Las Vegas to Cambodia. It's 25 hours of total travel. Luckily, Phil Ivey's masterclass is available as part of the in-flight entertainment. The second leg is quite a bit longer to get across the Pacific. It gives me a lot of time to think about those high-stakes Lodge sessions that I'm trying not to think about. At least we've got Andrew to hang out with. Finally, we arrive at Naga World in Phnom Penh for the World Poker Tour series out here. This is my first time ever in Asia, and I'm blown away by how cool it is. When I first started playing poker, I never imagined it'd take me across the world to exotic locations like this. The hotel rooms here are great. There are plenty of fantastic sights to see that are all around the property. I go to the pool almost every day to get some sun, relax, and clear my head before the poker begins. But my favorite part of Cambodia is that the food is absolutely phenomenal. Sometimes it's tough to make food look good on camera, but every meal I have is delicious. All of this is just a bonus though. My mind is focused on playing and working towards recovering what I lost during the largest downswing in my life. Perhaps I can win one of these trophies in that pursuit. I get off to a hot start in the series. We buy into the mini high roller. It's a $2,200 buy-in. That's one of the cool things about poker in Cambodia is that they use the US currency. This would be an awesome event to win because it's one of the larger tournament buy-ins for the series with a tough field consisting of some of Asia, Europe, and Australia's best players. Fortunately, we run extremely well. There's 75 total entrants, 10 players make the money, and first is over $49,000. We bagged the chip lead on bullet number 1. It's a massive confidence boost when I need it the most. Maybe I didn't forget how to play this game after all. 19 players advance to day 2. This is a business trip. We've got work to get done. Our sights are set on that top prize and winning the trophy to bounce back from the cash game woes. This would be a big step in the right direction. Day 2 begins. Takes a few hours for the money bubble to burst. You can see that all the big payouts are at the top there. We make it to the 8-handed final table, get moved to the main stage. We've got about an average stack and are guaranteed $5,800. That's an amount that I'd be happy to win most of the time, but not today. I do well to pick spots carefully in order to ladder up as the field is reduced to just 3 players. The minimum payout is now $17,000 and we're playing for big money. The issue is that we're short. The big stack's doing a good job at bullying like he should be, but eventually we have to take a stand with pocket 9s. We call a shove and are up against ace-jack offsuit. If we lose this, we'll be out in third. If we win, we'll be a huge favorite to at least secure a $28,000 payout. The flop comes 8-6-6. It's a safe one for us. The turn is the 7 of clubs. It gets us closer to a full double up. The river is a 3 of diamonds. We're no longer all that short. What's even better is that the third player busts. We've got $28,000 locked up. And we're playing heads up for an additional $21,000, but we're at a 2-1 chip deficit against one of Australia's most talented players, Josh McCauley, who I actually met and played with during the WPT High Roller at the Gold Coast 6 months ago. Josh and I have become friends, but I'd like to get another double up through him here. We get it all in on the turn with a monster flush and straight draw combo, but Josh has bottom set. We'll need to hit a spade or 10, otherwise we're eliminated. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Good job, man.
Bye-bye.
We aren't able to spike the river. Josh takes down first place for 49,000. He's an awesome guy and terrific player, so he deserves it. I get my second place in a WPT tournament. At some point, I'm going to take one of these down, and eventually a main event as well for a lot more money. In the meantime, I'm pretty content with a $28,000 tournament score to kick things off in Cambodia. We enjoy a nice dinner to celebrate the successful day with Josh and some of his buddies, but I'm still hungry for a tournament win, and I'll do whatever I need to in order to make that happen. Even if that means jumping into a $300 PLO event. I completely destroy people in my first ever live PLO tournament and run up a massive stack. It's the very next buy-in that I play after getting second place. There are 116 total entries. I make my second final table in a row. Starting to get pretty comfortable up here on the main stage. It's like my second home. Unfortunately, I'm not able to improve upon my previous result. I end up getting 6th place. Still, I'm really excited about how the series is starting off. There's a Player of the Festival prize and leaderboard out of thousands of players. My 2 final tables puts me in 13th place about halfway through it. As much as I'd like to work towards winning that, today, Andrew and I are hosting our first ever meetup game together in Asia. It's incredible to travel to the other side of the planet and have people who have literally come from all over the world to show up with plans of getting themselves some Bradley dollars. We're playing 2-5 with a $1,500 max buy-in. That's what we've got in front of us. We begin at 1:25 p.m. with some of the most hideous cash game chips that I've ever seen. About 20 minutes in, we're dealt pocket aces under the gun +1. I raised to 15. The hijack calls, the button 3 bets to 65. This is a dream scenario. The button only had about 600 to start the hand. I'm wondering what's the best way to get all of it. 4-bet jamming is overkill. I make a much smaller 4-bet to 150. It's an amount that's too small for the button to fold to, and then he'll have a 2-to-1 stack to pot ratio if he calls. It's not a large amount. Maybe he'll feel obligated to 5-bet rip it. The hijack folds. The button is contemplating what to do. It doesn't take him too long to decide though.
All in. Call.
There we go. Again. Let's get a sweat here. Diamonds. Chop it up.
Nice try.
Right away, we stack an opponent with our 6s full of aces to beat an ace-king offsuit hand that plays the board. It's a nice way to begin, and we're not done with aces either. 1 orbit later, we're under the gun +1, and we pick him up again. This time the straddle's on. I raised to 30. The hijack calls. The button 3 bets to 90. I don't know what's going on, but I could have used some of this in Austin. I was only dealt pocket aces once in 3 live stream sessions spanning about 25 hours. I've already been dealt aces twice here in just over a half hour. Wait, it gets even better though. The big blind is about to make a play.
Squeeze time. 390.
390.
I've never been so excited for squeeze time in my life. The big blind picked a fantastic time to 4-bet to 390 with only 2,035 total. His name is Mike. He said earlier that he wanted to make the vlog. Mike is certainly going to accomplish that. I find myself in another terrific spot. We're going to apply the same principles here as the last hand we went over, as we almost min 5-bet to 800. Whatever Mike cold 4-bet to 390 with, I doubt he'll want to fold for 410 more. Plus, the fact that he announced it was squeeze time may make him feel like I could somehow be 5-betting light, even though that'll never be the case with a caller and a 3-better behind me.
So you mean you actually had a good early positioning open race?
I have the best one. The hijack and the button fold. The action's back on the big blind. He's a sticky player who makes the call, leaving himself with about 3/4 of a pot-sized bet left in his stack. The flop comes Jack 10-10 with 2 hearts. I suppose it's possible that we're up against pocket jacks, but there's a better chance we're up against ace-king, pocket kings, or queens. I feel much better about this flop, given that we have the ace of hearts. The big blind checks. Our goal was to make sure that we keep those worst hands in, so even though we probably have the best hand, I announce a tiny bet at 200 to elicit a shove or keep ace-king in when the big blind may only have 4 outs max. This sizing does the trick.
200. All in.
Okay, I gotta get lucky.
It's good to hear.
Okay. Oh, you got one of my outs.
Oh, king queen?
Yeah.
The opponent has king-queen offsuit. He flops an open-ended straight draw, but he can't hit an ace or we'll make a full house. The opponent picks up a few more outs on the turn as he pairs his queen. It's looking bleak for him though because only 2 queens are left in the deck, and we picked up a flush draw, so only 3 non-heart 9s will give him a straight that's good. The river is the 8 of clubs. We stack another opponent with aces. It's a massive pot of more than 800 big blinds that we take from Mike. It's actually one of the biggest 2-5 pots that I've ever won. Mike's wish comes true of making the vlog, but it comes with a price. All right, Mike. You're in there.
Chris, I don't want to be in this fucking video.
Mike's a great guy who typically plays much larger games and just loves creating action. I appreciate it. It feels so good to win some hands and run well in a cash game session after weeks of being in a drought. We're somehow already up over 2,500. 11 minutes later, we're dealt ace-king offsuit on the button with the straddle on. The cutoff raises to 30. We're just going to keep re-raising people with our strong hands. I 3-bet to 100. The under-the-gun straddler doesn't believe that we're getting dealt all these monsters at such a high frequency. He puts in the cold 4-bet to 335. It's completely wild that there's been this much action already at the first table of the meetup game. The cutoff folds. We're not going to be 5-betting this time. I just flat the 335 so that we can play a big pot in position. We're heads up. The flop comes 8-4-3 with 2 diamonds. It's not exactly what we were hoping for, but we still have 2 overs with some backdoor draws. The opponent may not like seeing all the low cards out there either. He downbet significantly to 235. Perhaps he's using the same tactic as me to milk players when they're drawing dead or close to dead. If he has aces or kings, I'm in big trouble. The opponent may fire for larger and larger amounts on the turn and river. All I can do is make the best decision possible in the moment and take things street by street. I can't fold to a small bet at this juncture when we're getting a good price and there are plenty of cards that can help us improve. I call, hoping to see an ace, king, or a diamond. The turn is the 9 of diamonds, giving us the king-high flush draw. This slows down the under-the-gun player. He checks. I'm starting to suspect that he may have the same hand as us, but maybe without a diamond. The fact that we're holding both an ace and a king makes it way less likely that we're up against aces or kings. There are only 3 combos of each of those pairs possible, while there are 9 combinations of ace-king that we could be up against, so it's about 50% more likely that we're up against ace-king than it is that we're up against one of the 2 best pocket pairs. If we can get ace-king to fold, that'd be a huge win for us because we can win a big pot right now without having to depend on hitting a 4th diamond to do so. We won't have to bet too much to get folds out of ace-king hands that aren't containing the ace of diamonds. I bet 400 to target those holdings specifically. Even if we're up against pocket queens or jacks, we'll still have about a 30% chance of improving to have the best hand on the river. I really just don't want to get check jammed on and have to fold. We don't need to worry. The opponent confirms our read as he mucks his hand.
All right, so we got. Do we have the same hand there?
Same.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Under the Gun says that he had ace-king without a diamond. We've been winning all sorts of 4 and 5-bet pots. This one is especially sweet since we applied pressure to avoid a chop and win a pot of almost 250 big blinds outright. We're an hour in and we're up over 3,000. I've actually never had anything close to this good of a start in a cash game session. Next we pick up pocket kings under the gun +2 with the straddle on. Under the gun +1 is first to act. He raises to 30. If I 3-bet while I'm second to act, it'll telegraph the strength of our hand. We may as well play it face up. Since there's been a lot of 3 and 4 betting anyway, I get a little creative and just flat, hoping that we can put in a back 4-bet if someone behind us re-raises. Our plan doesn't quite work out how we drew it up. The big blind calls, Mike calls, and the under the gun straddle. We've essentially turned our pocket kings into deuces as we go 4 ways to the flop, but at least we're in position. Now, what you want to do with deuces is drill a set on an ace high board. That's exactly what we do. The flop comes ace king 9 rainbow. We have about the sneakiest set that we'll ever have. I'm glad that I just flatted the initial pre-flop raise after all. It checks to the under the gun +1 player. He bets 50. There's really not much to be afraid of other than maybe queen jack or jack 10 making a straight. I call to keep as many players in as possible. The big blind folds, but Mike calls to close the action. 3 of us are still in. The turn is another 9, giving us a full house. If Mike has a 9, we can make piles of money. It seems that he might because he takes the initiative and leads for 250. It's almost a pot-sized bet. Under the gun +1 folds. The under the gun player just put out a massive bet. He's probably drawing extremely slim, if not dead. We don't want him going anywhere, plus we have position on him to make sure that the river doesn't check through anyway. I just call one more time. If the opponent's on a draw, I hope he hits it. The river is the 3 of clubs, so the backdoor flush draw gets there. The opponent has no quid in him. He cocks back and fires for 800. I hope he has a smaller boat or hit runner clubs. Flatting preflop couldn't have worked out more perfecter. Mike only has 1170 on top of his giant river bet. Let's see if he wants to play for everything. Come on.
All in.
You tried to get greedy with an ace. Yeah, tried to get greedy against a good player. I shouldn't do that. Okay.
I had a very, very sneaky hand.
Well done.
It looks like Mike figured we both had an ace and would be chopping with the 2 9s out there and the king kicker. The issue for him is that the king was not a kicker for us. One more enormous pot comes our way in the first hour and a half. We're already winning over $4,000 out of the gate. We've got $58.50 in front of us, so we're up $4,350 total. If the session ended right now, it'd be one of the top 5 biggest 2-5 wins I've ever had. There's still time to expand on it though. At our second table of the day, we pick up ace-king offsuit in the cutoff while the double straddle's on. I raised to 50. The under-the-gun straddler calls. Under the gun +1 is a bit of a maniac. I played with him in the mini high roller, and I'm well aware that he's capable of making some loose aggressive plays. He 3-bets to 300 off a stack of 1621. I'm disappointed because he wasn't even polite enough to announce that it was squeeze time like Mike did at the other table. We've got to punish him, and we do it with a 4-bet to 800. This forces the under the gun player to fold. If under the gun +1 5-bet jams for about 800 more, we're going to be calling. I can see that he's not thrilled that he got 4-bet.
I guess I shove him for a shove.
All right, call.
All in.
That ace is over there all the time.
9s. All right, fair fight.
We're all in against a middling pocket pair in a 5-bet pot for over 300 big blinds effective. There's less action in Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. If we win this, we'll be up $6,000 in a 2-5 game. The flop comes 10-6-3 rainbow. The entire room lets out an audible boo because this flop doesn't even resemble anything that's close to fun. The turn is the 5 of clubs. We're going to need 1 of 6 cards for the win. The river is the 8 of diamonds, sealing the victory for pocket 9s and a pot over $3,000. I lose a big chunk of my stack, but I'm still up plenty on the day. Despite not being able to make a pair with ace-king, I make big hands over and over, including in this one with a dirty diaper from the big blind and a limped pot.
Did have quads there.
Wow. I hit open-ended.
Open-ended. Just get there one time. There.
Here we've got ace-10 suited on the button, under the gun +1, limped in for 5. The cutoff puts in a small raise to 15. We call. The big blind knows what time it is. Squeeze time. He 3-bets to 100. It's only 95 more for under the gun +1. He didn't limp in to fold for a portrait of Benjamin Franklin. He calls. The cutoff regrets raising to 15. He folds. It's reasonable to fold our hand, but we're throwing reason out the window. We call for 85 more in position with 40% of a royal flush. 3 of us are seeing the flop. It comes Jack-8 deuce with 2 clubs and a heart. We pretty much break this one, except we've got a lot of cards that'll give us a straight draw on the turn, including any 7, 9, queen or king, plus a heart will give us the flush draw. On second thought, it's actually not terrible for us, especially because both players check. Feels like the big blind 3-bet with an ace-king or ace-queen type of hand. Before going on the trip, my mom told me not to get arrested in another country. Well, she's not going to be happy with me when she finds out that I attempt larceny with a bet of 105. The good news is that I can only get arrested if I get caught, and I don't get caught. Both opponents fold. We get away with the steal. I'm relieved because I cannot go back to prison. In this one, we've got pocket 3s under the gun. I raise to 15. The button calls. The small blind calls as well. We're going 3 ways to the flop. It comes king, king 3 with 2 spades. I immediately hang up the phone with the sales representative from Bass Pro Shops after telling him, thanks, but I've already got a boat. The small blind checks. I put in a sneaky check. The button also checks. The turn is the 8 of clubs. This excites the small blind. He bets 15. It's time for us to make our move. I raise to 50. That's too much for the button. He folds. The small blind isn't deterred. He calls for 35 more. Maybe he's got trips. The river is another 3. We make quad 3s for the second time today. I've never made quads twice in the same session before. It's pretty amazing. The small blind checks. He only has 380 left in his stack. If he has a king, he's never folding to a jam. If he has a missed flush draw, he can't call a bet anyway. I rip it in. Small blind apparently has air and folds immediately.
Did river quads there.
There it is.
We're still down from the high point, but it's been an exciting session overall with lots of big hands. A bit later, we pick up pocket 8s under the gun. I raise to 15, a player in middle position calls, the hijack calls, the cutoff calls, and the big blind calls as well. We're going more ways to the flop than I can count. I'm okay with it though because we flop a full house again. It comes king, king 8. After a month of running absurdly cold, it turns out all the strong hands that I wasn't making were waiting for me in Cambodia. Checks to me, with 4 opponents, I'm not going to slow play this. I bet 25, hoping that at least one player will have a king. The player in middle position might, he raises to 75. The hijack folds, the cutoff isn't afraid of a bet and a raise in front of him. He puts in a re-raise to 200. Someone must have gone into the settings and put poker on easy mode for us today. I appreciate it. The big blind folds. There's almost nothing I can do here that won't look extremely strong. I flat the 200, which I'm sure looks very suspicious. The player in middle position was just messing around with his raise. He folds. It's heads up with the cutoff, who only has 413 remaining. The turn is the 4 of spades. It could be good if the opponent somehow had a flush draw, but it's more than likely not good because the cutoff probably had trips and could be afraid that the flush draw just got there. I check. The cutoff is taking his time with his decision. Eventually, he makes up his mind. His mind tells him to jam. Bad decision. We snap call. The cutoff knows right away that he's going to need some help. I turn over the full house because I don't want to slow roll him. The cutoff keeps his cards face down.
Yeah.
Did you get there? Nice hand, nice hand, nice hand.
Whoa.
How much is it?
The cutoff hits a miracle river to boat over boat me, scoop the pot, and get a big double up. We played it the best we could. Sometimes the deck doesn't cooperate. I knew that I should have left when we were up 4,300, but that probably wouldn't have been a great look at a meetup game. After this loss, we're only up 2,100. We're actually not really running all that great in all-ins today. It's time for a bomb pot. We've got king 8 of diamonds in middle position. All 9 players put 15 in pre-flop. We go straight to a flop. It comes ace 7-6 with 2 diamonds. We've got the flush draw with the backdoor straight draw. Checks to me. I bet 45. The hijack calls. Under the gun calls as well. 3 of us make it to the turn. The dealer puts out the 10 of spades. We pick up the gutter. Under the gun checks. We would have gotten raised on the flop if we were up against 2 pair or better at that point. If the opponents didn't connect with the 10, we may be able to get him to fold 1 pair hands here. I keep the pressure on with a bet of 225. This narrows it down a little bit. The hijack calls, but under the gun folds. We're heads up. I'd really like to make a hand. The river is the queen of hearts. We brick it, but we have removal to strong hands like 9-8 as well as king jack. We've been representing a monster the entire way and we never got raised. Even though we have air, we only have to get through 1 player to take down the pot, and I imagine he's not super strong. The opponent has 500 remaining in the stack. We're going to go for the triple barrel.
On in.
I'm relieved when we don't get snap called. We've at least put the opponent to a tough decision. We haven't had to make any huge bluff attempts so far today since we've been too busy making quads and boats. It'd be really great if this one gets through. And it does. The hijack folds. I'm always pretty happy to show any of the viewers who attend the meetup games what I have. I show here that we have good removal, although when you're bluffing on the river, you actually don't want to have diamonds in that spot because you want your opponents to possibly have a missed flush draw. The opponent would later tell me that he had 10-7 and turned 2 pair. We got him to make a big laydown for us to win. That's the last interesting hand of the session. We win 2,200 after playing 7.5 hours, though poker isn't over for the trip. We keep the party going with a post-mug celebration at a bar on property. WPT reserved it for our group and provided free food and free drinks for everyone. For our first meetup game on this continent, it's a huge success. For the after party, Andrew and I head to a rooftop bar in Phnom Penh to join the WPT crew that has been working hard all series to run things smoothly and provide content. It's a fun group to hang out with while we're traveling all over the world together and are away from our families. I mentioned earlier, The poker isn't over. We still have the $1,100 main event. It's a $500K guarantee that gets totally shattered. Over 1,000 players enter, bringing the prize pool closer to $1 million. WPT goes all out again and hires performers during one of the breaks. We only fire one bullet in this one, but we make it count as we have one of the larger stacks towards the end of day one. We play down to the money, and we're currently hand for hand on the stone bubble. There's an all-in and a call. A large group gathers around to see if the shorter stack will be eliminated. The river card knocks him out. We're officially in the money, and we're going to have an opportunity to get our first six-figure score. We come back for day two. Only 128 players out of 1,011 total entrants remain. We're guaranteed 1,800 at the moment, but first place is over 160,000, and second place is 108,000. Either of those payouts would do a lot to help me get back to even for the year. I end up making a handful of pay jumps. We run up the stack early to nearly $1 million in chips after starting day two with 302,000. Just 46 players remain. If we can somehow win this, maybe we still have a shot at winning Player of the Festival as well. Ultimately, I hit a wall. I get it in here pre-flop with Ace-Jack offsuit versus short stacks King-Queen offsuit. We flop a Jack, but it doesn't really make a difference. The turn is a blank, then the river is a queen, giving the opponent a double up, bringing my stack down to about 20 big blinds. Then to cap things off, we get it in with Jack-10 offsuit on the flop against pocket queens in a blind versus blind hand. We have top pair and a Jack-high flush draw, but we're up against an overpair and a better flush draw, so we're in bad shape. The turn ends our tournament run. It's still a great trip overall, and it's awesome to run deep in 3 different tournaments in addition to getting the win in the meetup game. It would have been cool to get first in an event in Cambodia. Instead, I have to settle with a second place finish for 28,000, a 6th for 1,300, and a 40th place in the main event for 4,250. I feel good chipping away at the amount that I'm down for the year. I'm not sure when exactly, but I'm going to get out of the hole if it's the last thing that I do. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons. It helps out the channel a ton. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'm happy to get back to you. This was just an awesome experience to go out to Cambodia and play poker out there and meet everybody and get to know, just get a bit of a different perspective on everything, and to run really well. That was something that was important for me to get some confidence back after getting smoked at the lodge. Be sure to check out the Brado and Clips channel because I'm going to be putting out an episode that's going to cover that last session that I played at the lodge, as well as just kind of some insight on that whole week for me. I mean, I lost $300,000 total. $200,000 of it was my actual money, so it definitely stung, but I'm looking forward to getting that back. That's kind of when I enjoy poker the most, is when I'm coming out of a downswing and I'm trying to recover from it. I just feel really excited to play every day and work towards something. So that's what I'm doing, and that's kind of what these quotes are for in the beginning and now at the end of the episode, where it's you don't drown simply by plunging into the water. You only drown if you stay beneath the surface, and that's kind of my mentality. It's kind of been my mentality anytime I've gone through something difficult, where I just try to bounce back as quickly as possible. So I'm excited to share that bounce back journey with you guys, and I appreciate all the support that you guys have given during that lodge stream launch week. But yeah, I got a couple of events going forward. Got the meetup game at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. Got the meetup game at the Lodge, Lodge Championship Series, and then we're gonna be doing a meetup game at the Gardens Casino in Los Angeles, I believe May 19th. I have more information in the description box below on all the upcoming events. And if you ever see me, feel free to come by and say hello. Even if it's not a meetup game or whatever, or even if I look like I'm stuck or something, always happy to take a photo. So hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you're staying safe. Good luck at the tables, and I'll see you next time.